Hello and welcome to Unacademy. In the past 48 hours, there have been certain developments which call for attention for UPSC aspirants because it is pertaining to the politics of representation, freedom of speech, freedom of expression, and also is linked to our post independence history, which is quite relevant in that regard. Now, the movie in focus is Satluj, which was recently released on ZEE5 after a very long battle. And within 48 hours of its release, quoting recent developments, this movie has been removed from ZEE5 itself. Now, you would say, why are we discussing it? What is the relevance of it? Because there's a very strong history behind the movie itself. It has now brought into focus multiple personalities and concepts for us to understand. Now, the story of this whole episode goes back to what is called as Operation Blue Star. And in 1984, based on the orders given by then Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, we know that in order to curb the Khalistani terror and the Khalistani movement itself, Indira Gandhi allowed the Indian army to enter into the most holiest of shrines, which is the Golden Temple. Now, this is considered one of the most controversial and the darkest moment in post-independence history for the Sikh community and in general itself, other than the emergency, because the holiest of shrines was breached by the army because the leader of the what we call as the Khalistani movement, one of the most important figures, Bhinderwala, was actually in Golden Temple itself. Now we don't have to understand Operation Blue Star per se, but the aftermath of it. So there are three things which we have to understand as context here. The Khalistani movement, a separatist movement in Punjab, was rising since independence with the understanding that the Punjab sector would be better off in as a separate country rather than in independent India itself. There were multiple personalities, including Bhinderwala, and this movement was going out of hand during the 1970s and 80s. And in 1984, in order to curb this movement, in order to kill it to its root, which still exists in Canada and US, now, the then Prime Minister Indira Gandhi is going to allow Operation Blue Star to go ahead, wherein the Golden Temple will be breached by the Indian Army, where there will be a lot of damage which will happen to the Akal Takht, also to the Golden Temple, also. And the timeline June 1st to 3rd, 3rd to 6th, by 6th June, there was official confirmation that Operation Blue Star was a success. Now, because it was a holy shrine, a very important space for the Sikhs, Indira Gandhi will later be assassinated by her own Sikh bodyguards in retaliation to what she had done under Operation Blue Star. And the Khalistani movement and the Khalistani terrorists, as they were called, were now again in question and vogue. Now, based on Operation Blue Star and later assassination of Indira Gandhi, there will be something as a very dark moment in Sikh history and generally in North India, which is called the anti-Sikh riots. In these riots, there will be large scale killing of Sikhs in the name of the Khalistani movement in retaliation to the death of the Prime Minister itself. And it is here that we bring into focus Jaswant Singh Khalra, who is basically the protagonist of the story itself. Now, Jaswant Singh Khalra was the director of a bank. He comes from a very very prestigious family. His grandfather, Harnam Singh, was actually a Gadarite and even took part in the Komagata Maro incident. And following Operation Blue Star, he was director when the anti-Sikh riots were at their peak, and the assassination of Indira Gandhi in turn gave the police a lot of power to detain, have, you can say, for any reason, only on suspicion, people were picked up as terrorists of the Khalistani movement itself. Now, the police at this point of time were also accused of killing a lot of people, extrajudicial killing. There's burning of thousands of bodies who were actually not even accounted for. There was no trial. And what is even more problematic here is a lot of these officers who were involved in the anti-Sikh right and this period of what is called as counter-insurgency period in Punjab, they were doing it for their career gains. People got out of turn promotion. They started at constables, became inspectors and SSPs. And that is where, while searching for his own colleagues who had gone missing, Khalra will discover files in the Municipal Corporation of Amritsar, which contained the name, ages, and addresses of who had been killed and later burned by the police. When he will further research, it will turn out in three other districts, the same thing is going to happen. And it is in this moment that Khalra transformed himself from a director of a bank to a human rights activist. And he will then expose one of the biggest illegal extrajudicial killing and secret cremations which happened in Punjab between 1984 and 1995 during the period of militancy and counterinsurgency. While investigating, he will uncover municipal records of close to 25,000 people who had been killed by the police, cremated illegally, even thrown into rivers at that point of time. That is why this is considered to be a very, very important biography because it points out to police excesses, extrajudicial killing. In the name of what is called as counterinsurgency, young men were tagged as terrorists. And what is even more problematic is his investigations will point out custodial killings, use of civilians as human shields, illegal cremations of unidentified bodies. Even 2,000 police personnel will be killed for refusing to participate in the counterinsurgency operations. And Khalra himself will die in a very suspicious manner on 6 September 1995 when he will be picked up from his house in Amritsar, and later he will be killed by the police once he will disappear and be murdered by the police in custody itself. So again, extrajudicial killing in police custody. He will be tortured and killed by the police because he had pointed these things out. And this episode and these episodes have been captured by the movie itself. Now, what he had researched about was later validated also because the CBI will later confirm 2,700 unlawful cremations that occurred in Tarantaran district alone. The number which he has given is 20,000 to 25,000. Further, the Supreme Court of India, the National Human Rights Commission, will acknowledge the authenticity of evidence given by Kalra itself. And following this investigation, in 2005, the six Punjab police officials were prosecuted and later given life imprisonment for what they had done. Even the Supreme Court will uphold their life imprisonment, criticizing the police for the excesses done during Punjab insurgency period also. Now, this is where this movie comes in. This movie was actually originally called Punjab 95, 1995 Death Punjab. It is a biography of Khalra itself, and it has, since its inception, been struggling to actually get certification. It was actually given to the Central Board for Film Certification in 22 for certification. 127 cuts were asked, so they did not release it. Later, they went to the Bombay High Court. There was no real progress, so they did not release it then also. In the Toronto International Film Festival, again it was not released, but finally it was released on ZEE5 as the name Satluj. However, quoting current developments, this movie has been removed within 48 hours of its upload in ZEE5, pointing out that as soon as uncomfortable truths of the period after 1984 come into context, this movie has been removed. Therefore, what makes this an important concept for UPSC is firstly, we now have to see, we all talk about Operation Blue Star. We have enough videos to explain that. We also know that Indira Gandhi was assassinated after that. We know that there was counterinsurgency and the Khalistani terrorists. The Khalistan movement still remains a problem. In no way this is about the Khalistani movement, but what was done in the name of removing the Khalistani movement from Punjab itself. And that is where Khalra's, you can say, research was extremely eye opening. And as UPSC aspirants, as for GS paper 3 or GS paper, what is called 4 ethics, or the concept of governance, GS paper 2, or the concept of how society has gone forward, this is a problematic development. And this is what Khalra pointed out. Now, when it comes to governance, police excesses in the name of promotion, in the name of what is called as politicization, is all what is needed to be reformed in the larger scheme of things. His story is to be told. His story is actually quite important, and by silencing these types of, you can say, custodial deaths, or even using people as human shields, or even 20,000 policemen dying because they did not agree with the overall understanding, and his own death in what is called as custody extrajudicial killing, all bring into focus how the state and its power, when it comes to when they go after something, when they go after a movement, what they can do. So this is not just about this movie. It's not about this movie. It's about what the movie has to say. We have very systematically over years silenced the partition history, which is now again coming into focus. The Khalistani movement was a real problem, it still remains a real problem. But what Punjab endured, and close to 25,000 people were killed as a genocidal violence, the numbers which we quote for anti Sikh rights is much higher. If we take all of this in consideration, this history also needs to be captured. This is about silencing history. This is about how you are creating a selective amnesia. This movie is needed as much as Kashmir Files is needed, as much as Bengal Files is needed, as much as Durandar is needed. This is also needed because they give us perspective. Till today, nobody knew about Jaswant Singh Khalra, but now everybody is talking about him, and now we should also be cognizant of him. And therefore, I hope that this very short video gives you you can say perspective and understanding of this current development, but you can use this movie and how it has endured this long form of certification, how the certification, film certification in India is also politicized and how it is politically motivated. And now even OTT platforms, which were considered to be immune to larger concepts. ZEE5 is known to have released multiple controversial, you can say, different series, different movies. But now this movie going out of ZEE5 is a dangerous development because this is again systematic silencing. So I hope now you understand what is this whole controversy. I hope that this gives us a moment to give homage to Jaswant Singh Kalra and what he did as a human rights activist. His wife till today continues that tradition itself. He comes from the Gadarites and therefore has a very rich heritage of going against authority and telling the truth. So therefore, I hope that now you understand what is this whole controversy over Satluj.